Hello, hey there. Thank you so much for having been listening to my podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, is the easiest way to make a podcast. I know you've been listening to me and you're wondering, how can I begin recording podcasts like Benjamin? Anchor is the best choice for you. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's anything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, hey, go ahead and download a free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. See you soon. Hello, hey, this is Benjamin Bagonko. I'm making my first podcast today for the first time. And I hope you can hear me clearly. I hope this podcast gets you in the right place, right location, maybe in the right moments. I'm actually doing this podcast surprisingly late in the evening, around 7 p.m. And yeah, it's really dark. Just beside me, I can see a man. I'm actually seated on the street, and I can see a gentleman passing by. He's walking together with he's walking his dog. In this podcast, I want to tell you that I'm also seated right beside a very unique space and special place. I'm actually seated beside a cemetery. I know that sounds weird. And it's coincidentally, I didn't plan to come and sit here and do this podcast sitting beside a cemetery. So many graves right on the left side of where I'm seated on. But maybe it was meant for me to come and sit here and share this podcast with you today. I want to share with you a personal story that I've shared it in my social media platforms time to time, on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. About 9 years ago, to be precise, 10 years ago, I was privileged to be a father for the first time. I had this amazing, beautiful daughter who was born actually in the same date when I was born, in October. So we share the same birthday. That was the most beautiful thing ever. And every time you meet a father, a man who has had a child, their first child that they witnessed, carried the child, spent a few moments together with the child, just right after birth, they will tell you that experience is beyond explanation. I was very happy, to say the least. I knew that now I am a man, I'm a father. My daughter grew up very well, never fell sick. The first 3 months were amazing, all the way up to the 6th month when the weaning started and she began to eat normal food other than the breast milk. And then when she was 10 months old, I had this grand idea about her birthday, like this is the first birthday, and any parent will tell you that the experience of preparing that first birthday party, it's also amazing. It's something that you can't also just even write down exactly what the feeling is all about, but it's just amazing, just a beautiful feeling. I had an idea of celebrating the birthday together with her. I was thinking about our dressing codes. Of course, I knew even by the first birthday, she couldn't be able to speak. She was still just saying pa, 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 ma, ma, ma. And, but I had all these imaginations. Sometimes I remember I used to go deep inside her head and try to imagine the conversations that she had from her together with me, just like a father would speak with a daughter. And I bought for a beautiful white dress, black shoes, and white cap. I remember also I bought for her a bracelet. And then I was thinking about myself. There's something very unique about parents when a parent begins to buy things for his or her own child, even though he had plans to buy the same things for him or for herself. I don't know how it happens. You don't just buy those things for yourself. So when I remember when I went to the shopping mall and I was looking for a dress for a 1-year-old, and I remember speaking to this beautiful lady, sales lady in that shop, and telling her I need the best, most expensive dress in this shop for the birthday of my daughter, because this is going to be her first birthday together with me. And then after I bought the dress together with the shoes and the bracelet and even an underwear, I was asking her, how about me? In fact, she's the one who asked me, hey, Benjamin, how about you? Now that you're going to celebrate the same birthday together with your daughter, what would you buy for yourself? I told her, oh, I think I'd forgotten about myself, but hey, I don't know if I should wear a suit. A suit looks really tensed up. Then I just told her I think I'll have a nice polo shirt and maybe some shorts, a pair of shorts and sandals. Because where I was staying was a very hot area. It was always hot. So I didn't need to dress warmly, just needed like summer wear. A nice pair of shorts, polo shirt, and sandals. And yeah, I bought myself a polo shirt and some nice yellow pair of shorts, and then black sandals. And then I had to pack this stuff and keep it somewhere to wait until October when we were going to celebrate the birthday together, me and my daughter. So I remember on September, just 1 month before our birthday, together, me and my co-workers, I was working as a teacher, we had to go to a beach to go and have fun. Like, it was like a team building session between me and my co-workers. And it was on a Friday. So we left, we went there. And I spent the whole day there, swimming, having fun, drinking some glasses of beers. Having fun together with my co-workers. And then we delayed going back home. We actually were supposed to return home by 8 p.m. But we asked the driver, the guy who was in charge of taking us and bringing us back home, to extend our party and the fun for quite some time. And so we ended up staying at that specific beach up to about 10 p.m. And along the way, when we were coming back home, I received a message that my daughter was unwell. And she had fever and she was taken to the hospital. So my heart skipped because this was the first time that my daughter was being taken to the hospital. But anyway, I finally arrived home and I went to the hospital. It was around midnight. I entered there. I went straight into where she was in her bed. I looked at her. She didn't look well. But she smiled. I like smiling. You should see some of my pictures and videos on Facebook and even in Instagram. I love smiling. My daughter smiled, and I remember the lower part of her teeth. The lower teeth, the two teeth were coming out. And then I remembered my mother had told me that when I was young, the same age, together with my daughter, around 10 months, 11 months, my teeth struggled to come out, and I developed very strong fever. And my mother really struggled to make me feel okay, to deal with the fever, because I think she knew, my father told her that fever is not something really nice, especially to a child. So I remember what my mother had told me about the fever is not something that you should delay and take chances and assume that everything is going to be okay. Remember earlier on I told you that I always wanted to get into my daughter's brain, to listen and to hear what she says, the conversations. And every parent, when their child is sick, they want that their child tells them exactly what's going on and what they want or what they need at that moment. I was just there sitting next to my daughter, almost 1 a.m. in the middle of the night, and I want her to say and tell me how she feels, to remind me she's going to be okay, like nothing is going to happen. But unfortunately, she couldn't tell me anything. We could just communicate through our eyes. I tried to make her laugh, smile. Then the nurse who was attending to her told me that, hey, Benjamin, I think that's enough. Allow her to rest, and then you can play with her probably the following day when she feels better or she looks much more active. I left the hospital, went back to sleep home, and then in the morning, I got another message, and the message was that the fever is worsening. This was Saturday. And I remember when I was going to the hospital to go and see her again for the second time, I kept on asking myself, what if something happens wrong? What if something happens wrong? I don't know if that was a good question. And if you're a parent, if when your child is sick, maybe you're listening to me right now, your child is actually sick, I'm sorry about that. I don't know if this question pops up into you and asks, hey, what if something wrong happens? What will you do? So I kept on asking myself, and I brushed it off. I prayed about it, and just say, hey, God, you know me as your son, as your child. This is an innocent child. And I became so spiritual, telling myself, confessing the sins, the things that I had done before God, being a Christian, and asking for forgiveness and saying, you know what, God, please allow my daughter to be okay. Just allow her to be healthy again, to get back home, and we continue the preparations for her birthday. So I remember praying and mentioning my name, mentioning and confessing all my sins and telling, you know what, God, please forgive me. And it happened that where I was staying, a number of apartments just about 4 or 5 doors away from mine, there was a couple that had lost their child the previous month. And it was a firstborn, a daughter. So I had all these fresh minds, because every time when I was going to work, before my daughter became sick, I could meet that man, the father of that daughter who died, and I didn't know what he was feeling. I could just meet him. I remember the first time I met him after he had finished all the burial and returned to stay again in that apartment. I met him on the way. I greeted him, and I just said, I'm sorry, man. And he just smiled back and told me it's okay. The same way I met the mother of that daughter who had died, and I also told her the same thing. I just told her, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about what happened to you and your family. And she said, Benjamin, it's okay. We will get another child. So every time I remembered this couple, I began asking myself, what if I'm the next one? What if my daughter doesn't make it? But anyway, I reached the hospital, I met the nurses, but the pace of attending to my daughter wasn't as fast as I expected, even though I really wanted the nurses to do was much more to pay attention to her, to cool down the fever. Make her feel okay. But it wasn't happening that way. So that was Saturday. And remember, this was a public hospital in my home country. A public hospital, the level of commitment and attention right from the nurses and the doctors, especially in weekend, is really low. So the nurses who were working at that time, a majority of them, they were just doing their practice. They were college students. When I asked one of the nurses, the main doctor, pediatrician, the one who attends children, she said he is not working on a weekend. And if I really wanted to see him, I had two options: to either go to his home, talk to him, request him to come to hospital and see what was wrong with my daughter, or if I could be lucky enough, go to his private clinic, which he had about a few kilometers away from the public hospital. I asked around. I found out where he used to stay, his home. I went there, and then I met a security guard who told me that the doctor was not at home. He advised me to go to his clinic. Then I went to his private clinic. When I went there, I met another security guard who told me that the doctor could not attend to me, could not listen to me at that time because he was busy inside the hospital, even though the hospital, his private clinic, was locked. So that meant another wait of one more day. Fast forward, this is Sunday. Third day, my daughter is still unwell. The fever is piling up. I don't know how much energy I have to keep on speaking and sharing this story with you. As I said, I've shared this story over and over again. And maybe it's because I have this strength to share with you without breaking down. But there are moments when I begin thinking about all this experience, about especially those last 3 days. I always break down. I'm a human being. I'm a man. I have emotions. And this is my child. Sadly speaking, I had to force the nurses to allow me transfer my daughter to the next better hospital and maybe better doctors and better nurses. But the saddest reality is to transfer her needed a bus ride, which could last for more than 8 hours on the road to get to that better hospital. I had some money in my pocket. The place where I was going to transfer my daughter to, the money that I had, I could have bought a flight domestic ticket. And that flight could have lasted for less than 1 hour to get to that destination. But something told me, some voice told me, don't worry, Benjamin, it's going to be fine. Take the bus. Your daughter's going to be fine. And I remember that specific domestic flight always left that area where I was staying around 4 p.m. in the evening. So by 2 p.m., when I was convincing the nurses to allow me transfer this daughter to another hospital, I still had enough time to book that flight and transfer my daughter. But I couldn't do it. I didn't do it. Is it something that I regret? I did regret about it. But that's in the past now. My daughter got into the bus, was transferred. But unfortunately, along the way, I think, I'm not so sure, because she was asleep and her heart was still beating. She was still breathing. But I think along the way, she may have passed on. May her soul rest in peace. Those are almost 9 years ago. I just shared with you those last 3 days. as painful, as sad, as calm as I could, or as I have been from the beginning up to the end. That's just what happened. And I want to remind you, if you're a parent, yes, and if you've lost a child, no special words, no special gift, even if you had another child or other children, there is nothing that will fill that gap. You will always have that hole inside your heart. In fact, when a parent loses their child, it's like a part of their body has been cut off, and they can never have a replacement of that part, even though there is no part that has been cut off, whether it's their leg, their hand, their fingers. That's how you feel every day, in the morning, in the evening, at night, when you wake up, when you see other children walking around, when you see other parents posting about their children, when you see other children of your family members or your friends. These memories are always fresh. But if you have lost a child, the way I've shared this story with you, I want to remind you that your child, as much as these words may not make sense to you, he or she is in a better place. Those words, she is in a better place, keep me going. But more importantly, I celebrate the 11 months that we were together with her. She could be the most beautiful daughter right now. I know that for sure. Just like any other child to any other parent. But she's not with me. I'm sitting here. I did this and I made this podcast to speak not just to you, the person listening to me, but as I said, I'm seated next to a cemetery. There are so many people who have passed on and they have been put in these graveyards besides me. My daughter is not there, but she's resting in peace somewhere. But more important, she's up there in heaven, where I can see, where I can hear an airplane flying, and I celebrate her. And if you're alive, celebrate the gift of life. Sometimes I say, yes, my daughter is no longer with me, but I'm going to make her proud, so long as I'm still alive and God has kept me alive over those years up to now. Celebrate the gift of life. And if you like this audio, this podcast, you can find me on Facebook, Benjamin Junior Bogonko, and also on my YouTube channel, Benjamin Bogonko. Let's be friends. Let's inspire each other. Let's make others smile, even when we have the most painful stories deep-rooted in our hearts and in our minds. I wish you a beautiful day, beautiful evening, a beautiful night, and thank you so much for watching this podcast. Without you listening to me, I wouldn't have done this. Thank you, and smile.